Welcome into the season opening episode of the Betting the Pitch MLB Edition podcast. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner, joined by A. Brooks Betts. Not two Brooks, not three Brooks, just one Brooks. A. Brooks Betts, Andrew Brooks, one of my good friends from college. Welcome to you. How are you doing before this first episode?
I'm great, Griff. It's fun to be here. April baseball is the best baseball. Everybody has a chance. Opening day is tomorrow as we record this. I'm very excited. I'm going to watch more baseball tomorrow than I probably will in all of July and August. But we keep doing this podcast. Maybe we'll get some people's attention. We'll get my attention throughout the whole season, the dog days of summer, and everything. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I live for the dog days of summer. And thank you to all our listeners who are coming into us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube at the real underscore G Warner. Anywhere you're listening, we appreciate it. And with that all said, we will make sure A. Brooks Betts is still listening to this and still watching games in July and August. So the plan for this episode or this podcast for the season, we haven't figured that out yet, but we'll figure out how often we're going to record. But today is a special day. It's Wednesday, March 27th. We have opening day, March 28th. Big day full of as much baseball as you can until you take a little bit of a break for March Madness and the Sweet 16 starting. But we have some day games. We're going to go through the entire opening day card, which looks like we have a couple of rainouts already. Thank you, Mother Nature, East Coast Weather, Rob Manfred scheduling team. Thank you all. But we'll get through those, and whatever time we have left on this episode before Zoom kicks us out, we will potentially get through a little bit of the, I guess, season-long type of bets that A. Brooks Bets has put through. So make sure if you're not following him yet on Twitter, go ahead and do so. Same for me at the real underscore G Warner. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com. That's the real underscore G Warner. So we'll start and I guess it probably doesn't hurt just to discuss this game, though it does appear that Milwaukee at the New York Mets, the opener of all openers, is rained out. But it looks like Freddie Peralta starting on the road at Jose Quintana. It was initially lined that it's about a pick 'em, but at A. Brooks Bets, he has some interest on Freddie Peralta this season. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think he's obviously their ace. They shipped Corbin Burns to Baltimore. They are a budget team. They probably couldn't afford to re-sign him long term anyway. Freddie has the K per nine to get it done over the long haul. He just needs to get the innings, get the volume. Isn't that the case with all of starting pitching in the big leagues now? It seems like it's a bullpen game, but when you get a starter like this who can be dominant and go late in the games, I think they'll lean on him. As far as this game in particular, I do like the Brewers. It is a pick 'em that I saw. I know Jose Quintana has been around a long time. I'm not thrilled by him or his body of work. It's not like some of the other aces we'll see on opening day. I think Freddie has a chance to join them, and at a pick 'em, I'm taking the Brewers.
Yeah, so it looks like it is officially postponed according to at A. Brooks Bets, but also double confirmed by Yahoo. So we'll leave that one behind. But it seemed like there was a pretty good number, especially I think you got in right before Garrett Cole went down. Pleasure or great timing by you on that one. So we're certainly rooting. We're Brewers fans to a certain extent because we want to make sure that Freddie Peralta is pitching as many high stress inning. Well, we don't want stress innings, but we want as many important innings as possible for Freddie Peralta this season. I also like the idea of betting against the Mets because I don't think Steve Cohen knows anything of what he's doing in this world. It looks like the next game was Atlanta and Philadelphia. Spencer Strider is supposed to start for the Braves against Zach Wheeler of the Phillies. Should be a dandy, but it's not going to happen until it looks like Friday. Strider, I think, prohibitive favorite for that strikeouts lead across both leagues. Any concerns about Spencer Strider potentially throwing up 300 Ks this year?
I'm always concerned about starting pitchers. They all have Tommy John at some point. If they haven't had it yet, they're going to have it once, maybe twice now. We've seen that with a couple of big horses that we thought would just pitch forever and could strike everybody out. You got the Scherzers and DeGroms of the world who have the K per nine. They're aging, and DeGrom just can't ever seem to put it all together for a whole year. You look around, Garrett Cole, I thought was a horse, right? But he's got nerve inflammation, and he might be out for a week or a month or two. Strider and Wheeler, though, those are the aces I was talking about on opening day. That is like you kind of scream under, like, oh, well, they're going to dominate. But I'm going to stay away from the total. With the lines that I see, I mean, the Braves minus 125 and the Phillies at plus 105. So it's essentially kind of a pick 'em. I'll take the Braves. I think they're the better team. They got the better pitcher. Wheeler's locked up for 3 more years. I know he signed a lucrative extension this spring. I do like contract players. I know there's a little bit of myth to that, but if you're in your contract year, I know the ratios or the effectiveness like per game doesn't exactly change, but there is data that says a contract year player is more likely to play more and longer. So I don't know if that's because they want the manager to keep him in the game or they want to have those big stats at the end that Scott Boras can screw up for everybody. But
Whoa. You mean to get a bunch of extra money with opt-outs? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, a bunch of extra money with opt-outs, I guess. Or you could be like Will Smith today, who signed a 10-year deal worth 140 million. He'll be catching for the Dodgers when he's 39.
Yeah, those
14
knees,
million.
those knees are going to be playing first base
Yeah,
or DH at some point.
wonderful.
I don't know. I
Because
don't
yeah,
know
their
who's
DH slot is really wide open for the next 10 years also.
Well, I mean, it's getting more open by the day, and we'll get into the Dodgers a little bit later on this program. We'll move now to an actual line. So I actually quote this one because this is a Thursday a podcast meant for opening day on Thursday. But we'll start with Washington, those Nationals, Josiah Gray visiting Frankie Montas, who I haven't seen that name in a long time. Interesting that he is the #1 starter for the Cincinnati Redlegs, but it looks like the Reds a -147 favorite at Bet Online. Thank you to Bet Online, Sportsbetting.ag for sponsoring our podcast. There are links to in the podcast descriptions across the various platforms you may listen to this that could give you some free money if you're a first-time depositor at sportsbetting.ag or at Bet Online. Go follow those links, and I probably will promise not to mention that more than 5 more times this episode. But it looks like we got a total of 9. So to me, that seems like a lot of respect for Frankie Montas that we haven't seen in a long time. Are you a little bit tempted by Josiah Gray and his fly ball tendencies in the Great American Small Park?
It's April weather. I'm sure it's not balmy in Cincinnati quite yet. I don't know if the jet stream off the river is flowing like it will in the summer. I love Cincinnati. I love the exciting team they have there. I bet on them last season, mid-season, to make the playoffs at 14-1 and fell 2 games short. But it was an exciting, kept me through the dog days of summer to root for Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer. And Matt McClain is now ruled out with shoulder surgery today. He's out for a couple months, but they think he'll contribute down the stretch. Josiah Gray and Frankie Montas is not the sexy ace matchup that you look forward to on opening day. 9 runs is, I would also say, kind of a lot of a respect for those two. I'd lean over, I guess. I probably won't bet the game, but I don't think the Nationals are quite there yet. If they'll ever get there, if their prospects pan out like the Reds seem to have, the Reds are kind of like not a now team, but they have some legs. They have some momentum off of last season.
I see what you did there. Some red legs have some legs. So the interesting part to me is that the Nationals, and just when you think about how these teams are built, Washington was pretty much a contact, put the ball in play team last year. I think lower strikeout rates than most, but not a lot of power. That concerns me going into a really small ballpark, hence the small park name for the Great American Ballpark. It looks like the high of 55 tomorrow in Cincinnati. So not terrible, but certainly not the balmy jet stream type off the river from the Kentucky side. I've actually also been in that ballpark. Brooks Betts has been to every ballpark out there. He's even invented ballparks to go to. I'm only a little bit more than halfway there, so I've still got a ways to go. But I think I lean to Washington based on the price here, and we don't have to bet on every game of the show. Stay tuned to the end of the show for best bets coming up. Those are going to be our favorite ones, the most tasty morsels for this opening day. I think I'd probably lean over. That's probably my biggest interest on this one as well. We'll move next to Pittsburgh, visiting Miami. Mitch Keller at Jesus Luzardo. Looks like Luzardo -128 favorite right now. Total at 7.5, slightly juiced to under.
Yeah, I mean, is one of those guys that has always been teasing everybody. He does have the ratios. He's been in the bullpen a little bit. They're trying to make sure that he doesn't get incredibly hurt like a lot of starting pitchers do. It's just they throw 100 miles an hour now. He's a lefty. I think he's a great prospect still after. I mean, I feel like it's been 5 years of projecting Jesus Luzardo, but and I probably won't bet this game either. It's a fun opening day start. You kind of start feeling out stat lines and feeling out how long they're going to let pitchers go and what the lineups are going to be. But Pirates, Marlins, I'll take the Pirates. I like the Pirates where they're going. I think that their young core is going to be kind of like Cincinnati. Henry Davis made the opening day roster. He will catch for the most part.
Ooh, what a surprise! A catcher catching.
Yeah, well, he played only right field last year,
Correct.
so in fantasy leagues, he's not even eligible as a catcher yet. I guess it takes 10 games to get there. You don't even have a catcher on your fantasy team, so you're just waiting
Thank
for
you for
that
the reminder.
eligibility.
Yeah, I need to start actually like pretending the season starts
Yeah.
tomorrow in fantasy land. Yes.
O'Neal Cruz has been the story of spring. He's been the number one. I mean, he's got a 1.4 OPS or something. He's had, I think, 17. I'm somewhere in the teens of 100+ mile an hour exit velocity. Line drives, home runs. I think 7 home runs. I mean, the dude has
Save
all the
those
talent
for
in the
the
world.
season, baby. Save those for April. Come on, or
Yeah,
actually March 28th.
I like the Pirates. I like
So
the
I
Pirates this
think
year.
from my perspective, to your point about these starters probably not going deep in games, it does make me wonder, and probably means that bullpens are even more important in these first couple weeks. The hard part, what we were saying before the show started, is that to me it's really hard to know. Like a dominant bullpen of 2023 doesn't really say much for 2024. I think we have some indicators on who's going to be good based on their performances last season. But a lot of these times, I'm looking for teams that spent a lot on their bullpens to get an idea of who's going to be good and who's actually trying to win this year. It doesn't always work out that way. Of course, you see the San Francisco Giants, I think, of 2021, which still is like one of the most like mysterious seasons of all time. I think they were just stealing signs, is my humble opinion at this point. But I'm most interested in a Miami team that somehow made the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like they're probably more capable in the bullpen than a Pittsburgh team that's still, I think, a few years away. But certainly the talent is flashing for Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens. Keller throws like 8 or 9 pitches, so that I'm sure will keep Miami off balance. I don't think it's enough for me to want to play the Pirates at this point, but we'll move on to the next game, all in the same 3:10 Central Time window. San Francisco and Logan Webb visits Yu Darvish and San Diego, fresh off their Korean vacation, which didn't go so well for them. But I guess they didn't lose their star player to a gambling investigation, so maybe it wasn't all bad. Looks like Yu Darvish at minus 109, so about as close to pick 'em without being pick 'em for a price total at 7.5.
Yeah, I will. I will report here. I'll guess it's too late to put it on the record, but I did win my first bet of the year in Korea, the first 5 under,
There we
with
go.
Yu Darvish on the mound
Hell yeah.
against Glasnow.
I had that
I
also.
like Darvish. I don't think he's done yet. I liked. I think his metrics were better than his results last year. He's 37 years old, I think. But at a pick'em price, give me the Padres. They've got um, a little bit of experience in the 2 games. They've been all around the world and everything, but maybe they came together as a team. Maybe they're ready to go. They don't have Soto anymore. I know, but or Snell. They are. I just think they're a little bit better team. San Francisco has to prove it to me. Logan Webb has been solid, steady, but I like Darvish
Not
and
this
his.
spring, he hasn't. He's been getting
Well,
murdered this spring. So
yes, he
I don't know
has.
how much people take into consideration how much the spring matters. Are they just throwing to throw and not get hurt? Are they really? I mean, because to me, Logan Webb, he isn't really the strikeout guy, and he's not probably throwing a bunch of junk up there in spring. He's trying to keep the ball in the park and do things like that. I wonder if there's any sort of issues with his control. Unfortunately, I mean, I trust him just on how good he's been. I think you and I were pretty up on Logan Webb back in the day when he first emerged on the fantasy landscape. Basically, 2 of us pretty big fantasy baseball players. I know there's nobody out there that does it like we do. But to me, that's a really, I think, a direct corollary into betting baseball and winning money on baseball. And that's what we're going to hope to do on this season of betting the pitch. I also like the Padres here. Minus 109 seems just short enough for a pitcher like Yu Darvish, who's able to get out of jams because he still throws nasty stuff and also will work in a 3-2 fastball with the bases loaded that'll get him out of an inning, which I don't know that Logan Webb can really do that besides just trying to hit the ball to where his players are located. We'll go next in the last one in this early, or I guess early afternoon window. St. Louis and Miles Michaelis visiting Tyler Glasnow, another veteran of the Korean series. Looks like Glasnow minus 223 favorite, total at 8.5, juiced all the way to the over. So we might see 9 before this tips off or first pitch is thrown.
Yeah, you probably won't see me preaching minus 230 favorites very much on this podcast as far as betting them. That doesn't mean the Dodgers won't win the game. You look at the run line, minus 1.5. It's just not profitable. Hasn't been for 10 years. I'm not going to bet this game on the side. The total, Miles Michaelis, I mean, he was once an innings horse. I don't think that he has it to hold that Dodgers lineup at bay. I mean, I think the Dodgers will win, so I'm going to stay off this game, but Glasnow's great. He's fantastic. He's another guy with the ratios. If he can put together a bunch of innings, he's going to be right there for the Cy Young race.
I'm expecting they treat him with kid gloves, though. So I think you see a lot of Dodgers bullpen here, and you see a lot of whatever Miles Michaelis or the Cardinals bullpen will look like. So I think over 8.5, if anything, on that matchup. Last matchup of the night in the NL will go with Colorado and Kyle Freeland at Arizona's Zach Gallen. Gallen a minus 235 favorite. Another for A Brooks bets to preach at a minus 230 price. Total is 8, but it really should be 8.5.
Yeah, I see 8.5 here on a sports book I will not name. But we'll go. I mean, Freeland has been in Colorado for so long; it's hard to even tell if those guys are good. They just have the home park working so hard again.
But he's not there. He gets to go down to Chase, baby.
Yep, he gets to go to the humidor.
Oh yes, the humidor of all
Zach
humidors.
Gallen is great. There is I think he went something crazy over his previous career high in innings because of the postseason and their World Series run. So I expect him to maybe tire out as the year goes on. I don't think that's a problem right now. Again, I don't do run lines. I don't do minus 245. I guess I'll go under here. I don't think the Rockies offense is very formidable. I don't think you can't really bet on an MLB team to score 8 or 9 by themselves. So I'll go under.
Yeah, Zach Gallen really good at getting line drives or fly balls hit right to people. I'm not sure if that'll go on forever, and considering he's had a UCL sprain for it feels like 2 years now. But it doesn't matter if you're hitting innings limits, going to the World Series, things of that nature. I don't really want anything to do with Colorado any place, but maybe at home is the only place I could do it as a home underdog. Not doing it in Arizona. And I don't really have much of a feel for that. Just maybe trying to bet against the Rockies. Unfortunately, they're just going to be priced like the doormat team they are. Moving to the early window in Baltimore, a lot in the news lately. Unfortunately, Patrick Sandoval visiting Corbin Burns. Looks like Burns a minus 183 favorite in his debut in the Charm City. Total is 7.5.
I had Corbin Burns on our aforementioned fantasy team on my fantasy team in our fantasy league, and he was inconsistent last year, even though his numbers ended up fine. He got traded obviously to Baltimore, which has turned into, since they moved the fence back, one of the best pitchers parks in the AL.
Yep.
Again, minus, you're giving away a lot with the Orioles. I'm not excited about the Angels. The only good thing about the Angels is that Mike Trout is healthy today. I mean, that's as good as I could say about them. I mean,
set your watch for 2 months.
Yeah. Let's go Mike Trout over 1 hit. I don't know. over half a hit. That's probably minus 220 also, but
I'm not really in a belief of Corbin Burns just yet, though I do think that, that park is built for left-handers. A lot of you could argue that it was built for John Means, who's not really been able to pitch there yet. But I think that works for Patrick Sandoval. I almost said Pablo. Patrick Sandoval, he's got a really great changeup. I think he keeps Baltimore in the yard, which won't be that hard, especially with temperatures I'm not willing to check, but probably in the 50s like Cincinnati. So give me under 7.5 in that matchup in an early one to get the games and the ball rolling.
New York and Philly have already gotten postponed. I'm surprised Baltimore isn't.
Yeah.
Can't imagine the weather's good.
Well, that might be coming soon. We'll go with the New York Yankees next on the road at Houston. What used to be a big rivalry matchup until the Yankees stopped making the playoffs. We got Nestor Cortez at Framber Valdez. Looks like the price is Valdez minus 152 favorite at home. Total 8.5, juice pretty heavily to over.
You don't often see the Yankees as an underdog.
Not of this size either, but
not of this
probably
size.
Deserved, yeah.
I'll take the Yankees and the juice you're getting with that.
Wow.
I think the Valdez is a guy that in my off season of research, he outperformed his metrics last year, so his results were better than the underlying expected results. That obviously that's over the course of an entire season. We're betting on baseball, which is 1 day, which anything can happen. This game could be 20-20. I have no idea, but I'm gonna take the Yankees if you're gonna give me some money to do it. I think they're all in this year. They have. Again, Judge is healthy. Everybody's there. I mean, they seem to want it pretty bad. They're right there. Obviously, the Astros are great too. They've been great for 8 years now. But give me the Yankees. Nestor Cortez, no real thoughts about him. I mean, it's not who you want on the mound if you're a Yankees fan, obviously, Garrett Cole being out. But Yeah, give me the Yankees.
Yeah, Nasty Nestor does have some ability, I think, as a big underdog like this. I mean, you probably need to win 40% of your bets to be profitable at plus 139. Um, don't quote me, all of you. Actually, if you want to come at me for my off the top of my head math, please do so in the comments. But make sure you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or subscribe on YouTube. If you want some of that free money, you also could sign up at BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag. But I already said that. But that was a nice little segue by at A Brooks Bets. It's going to be hard for me to get, but I'll get there eventually. I'm not sure that
Can't
I'm
be harder than Schnicker.
well, yeah, I mean, I've had to, yeah, true, true. Shout out to the NFL podcast, which I was literally
Great
just
friend of both of
reading.
ours. Hey, Schnitty, what's going on?
Hey, Schnitty, I don't think he's listening because I think he's taking care of his babies. But at this point,
That's
who
all right.
knows? I think baby singular. I'm not breaking any news. I don't know anything about that. But as of course my site just goes down, so we're gonna have to go and find out these Jose Berrios and Zach Eflin line. And so let's find that. Here we have it. Looks like Zach Eflin a minus 129 favorite, the home opener in the Trop in St. Pete at A Brooks Bet's favorite ballpark of them all. And looks like total here 7.5.
The Trop wasn't, it's like bottom 8, but it's not as bad as you'd think. I don't
Okay.
know. I've
Okay.
had different experiences in different places. I just finished that bucket list last year. Went to Toronto as my last one, as Griffin mentioned in the open. I have been to them all, and I did watch the Rays at the Trop,
Mm.
but it's not obviously nothing to write home about. Hopefully, they get a new park that can be convertible or outside or something. It's just
In Nashville, no less. Keep going.
feels like a mall. Yeah, maybe. Zach Eflin breakout
Yeah.
last year. Um, I like I like where he's headed. I think the Rays get the most out of their players, and they have for a long time too. They just find a way. They're pesky and they develop players. They didn't even bring up Caminero for the opening day roster because they just feel like they can develop him even more. I mean, these guys. Eflin was in Philly for a while, and he had a great prospect. He was a great prospect, but now he's, I think, putting it together. I like Eflin. Barrios is kind of the opposite. He was also a great prospect. In Minnesota, he's bounced up and down results. He had 1 year, I think, with terrible results and terrible ERA, but he settled down a little bit. He's a little bit better than people might give him credit for. Give me the over in this one, though. The ball bounces hard at the Trop, and Eflin is good. I think that the Blue Jays offense is going to be it's going to bounce back and be better. I like the Blue Jays as kind of like a season long future. If they're over win total, I don't have it off the top of my head, but that division is going to be tough. It's obviously kind of a toss up between the top 4 teams. Sad to say, the Red Sox are not really seemingly in the running. They're not trying to win, but nevertheless, give me the over.
Okay. Over 7.5 in a cavernous ballpark, if you will. I think I'm most interested here. Zach Eflin has been good, showed some real signs in Philadelphia, and I think the Rays picked up on that, and they've really gotten great things out of him, and I think they will continue to do so. Wearing a Blue Jays jersey as I am actually unrelated, still interested in the plus 119 that's being offered or being dealt by BetOnline and Sportsbetting.ag towards Jose Berrios. I feel like he was very solid last year, had some good strikeout numbers, was not a prom queen by any stretch, and certainly is not living up to, I think, the hype that was surrounding him as a prospect when he was in the Twins organization. But I think Toronto's got a chance to win this one. I wonder about how Tampa responds. Ever since they lost Wander Franco, they kind of went downhill fast last season. I'm interested to see if they've cleared that distraction. They probably have, but I also wonder how much that depletes a lineup that I think there were plenty of questions about already. So I'm interested in those Blue Jays and that money line. We'll move next to Minnesota at Kansas City. Pablo Lopez at Cole Reagans. Looks like Lopez, a minus 113 away favorite. Not sure we've had many of those so far. Total is 8, juiced pretty heavily to under.
Twins and Royals battle the AL Central. I like Pablo Lopez this year too. Another guy that actually underperformed his metrics of last year. And I know I'm just sampling 2023.
Hey, it's
There's a
all
whole
good.
there's
Some
a whole
people,
body of work that all these pitchers have put together to become the opening day starters. But Pablo Lopez is for a guy that another price, even the Royals are not expected to be great. Obviously, Bobby Witt is locked up for a long time. Congratulations to him. Cole Reagans has a lot of fanfare behind him right now. He
yes, he
could
does.
not find the strike zone in the Rangers organization. I guess he might have ironed it out. He seems to have good spring results. I see a lot of people who love Cole Reagans. Give me Pablo Lopez. He showed it last year in the big leagues. I like what the Twins always seem to do. They're again kind of one of those teams that hang around. They are not going to be in 30-degree Minnesota. They'll be down in 40-degree Kansas City probably.
Hey
But
now.
um,
Hopefully
give me the
going to
Twins in this one.
Joe's barbecue. Not we didn't go when you were there. I think we just did Jack Stack. But having just come back from Kansas City, I think I've had enough barbecue for my lifetime. 3 trips to Kansas City in 6 months was a good test for my I don't know, sodium intake. I'm interested in Kansas City slightly here. I do feel like if you're playing Kansas City, you better really like Cole Reagans and you better believe in him, because I still don't believe Kansas City's in a position where they're trying to win. And I think Minnesota, they're just happy making the playoffs and hoping something happens for them once they get in there. And I feel like that's probably where this team's going to head this season as well. Moving next to Detroit and Chicago, the White Sox version. Another beautiful matchup of AL Central teams. Got Tarek Skubal, a -172 road favorite. You thought Pablo Lopez, we're going stopping the road favorites there. No. Tarek Skubal had an awesome end of the season last year. And then Garrett Crochet, who's somehow come out of the bullpen into the opening day starter role for Chicago and the White Sox. Looks like Skubal -172, total at 8.
So I don't remember a couple years ago. I don't think it still holds true, but the White Sox against lefties was a tremendously profitable bet. I think it was 2 or maybe 3 years ago. I don't think that still
Was
stands.
Kenny Williams still employed then? Probably.
Yeah. Garrett Crochet, like you said, from the bullpen, kind of out of nowhere. He's got electric stuff. We'll see how long he lasts. I don't know what the White Sox are doing. They're holding on to these prospects they've had forever.
Do they?
Eloy Jimenez and Yohan Moncada are the best they got. I don't know, man.
Don't forget Luis Robert half the season.
I'm gonna take the under 7.5. I know there's not many runs, but Skubal was great last year. He can be right there for the Cy Young if he stays healthy and if he pitches a volume amount of innings. I like Skubal a lot. I don't really like either of these offenses. I don't really like Crochet, but heck, he's got electric stuff and he's the opening day starter. They see something in him. Everybody sees something in him, but it's he'll put it, opening day's an exciting day. I think he'll pitch well. Give me the under.
It's a little nerve-wracking to play a big road favorite like that because you're almost guaranteed an extra at bat to send that number over, but I'll go under 8 as well. Move next to Cleveland visiting Oakland. I guess we'll have one more run at the O.co or whatever they're calling it now. Shane Bieber at Alex Wood. Wood a +140 underdog at home. Looks like a total 7.5, which feels pretty high for an Oakland offense facing a Shane Bieber that's looked pretty good this spring. And I think maybe the rumors of his demise might have been a little bit early.
It might have been. Obviously, he was a great pitcher. I think he won a Cy Young. He led the league in strikeouts for 2 or 3 years. Last year, he had some nerve irritation. I think maybe it was the Cole injury. Maybe it wasn't. Don't quote me on that. But Bieber had some arm trouble last year, and he might be over it. I thought he was one of those guys going straight for Tommy John, but he seems to have avoided it so far. He's pitched great this spring. His strikeout rate is back. He can keep the ball on the ground. His fastball moves more than any other, as much as any other starter in the league. He keeps everybody guessing. Oakland has no offense. Oakland's not trying to win. Oakland can't wait to get to Vegas, I guess, if they even want them. Again,
you don't have to make a pick on every game, but
I know, but I'm going to lean under. I'm not betting all these, but I'm going to lean under.
Yeah, I feel like 7.5 feels very, very tall for this total. Maybe that's a judgment on the Oakland bullpen, but still the biggest foul territory in the world, I think, at this point, as everyone is closing in their stadium much tighter, while Oakland probably is still allowing ferrets in the press box. I think Shane Bieber was a 2020 Cy Young winner, and I think that is a pretty good position to potentially play under here, because if Cleveland is able to shut out Oakland, not likely, probably hard to do, but I don't see Cleveland getting 8 themselves, and I think that's a possible outcome. We got 2 games left, then we'll get into a little bit of entertainment before we get into our best bets. We'll start with Boston and Brian Bayo, nightcap to close out the American League on this opening day, visiting Luis Castillo. Looks like Castillo -166 favorite at home, total at 7.5, juice to the under. And I
Oh, the
guess
Red
here
Sox.
before you start, here we start where both of us grew up in New England. A Brooks
Yes.
Betts on Twitter. He's a little bit more interested in the Red Sox than I am, as I've pretty much been devoid of favorite teams. As I don't know, maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, who knows? But he's got a tattoo of John Henry. And okay, just kidding. You can start.
No, if I had a tattoo, it would be Manny Ramirez.
Okay, yes. When he's intercepting a throw from Johnny Damon in left field.
The Red Sox are disappointing, obviously, from an ownership perspective and a fan perspective. The prices don't go down at Fenway, and they just trot out this product has seemingly had no interest in any of the marquee free agents. They got Lucas Giolito, who's already
Hey
gone. It's the
now.
best thing they could do. Um, I'm not going to bet this game. This game is at 10 o'clock at night. Luis Castillos is good. He's an ace. You know, he played in Cincinnati for a long time. I think he battled that ballpark, but Seattle's got a great young core too. Julio's amazing. I expect the Mariners to win this game, but juiced the way it is, I probably won't play it. That's my lean. Mariners are going to win.
What are your thoughts on Brian Bayo this season?
I'm surprised Cutter Crawford didn't get the opening day nod. I'm high
Wow.
on Crawford.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's either high on Crawford or very low,
yeah,
almost like
but
slapping him in the face for Brian Bayo.
yeah, he's still got to prove it out there. I mean, they all do. It's just I don't know. I'm not very excited about Brian Bayo. What can I say? It's not that's not it's not John Lester. It's not John Beckett. It's not Josh Beckett. Sorry, it's not Kurt
Sean
Schilling. It's not
Beckett.
Pedro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Pedro
It's
Beckett,
nothing.
that's for sure. You
Jordan
know,
Montgomery would be the ace of the team if they even tried to go after him. So who knows?
yeah, sad part of at A Brooks Betts recording this and watching his baseball from Syracuse, New York, is that these games sometimes do start on the West Coast after he's already in bed. But the nice part is actually casinos still are open and they do credit your account if you do win a bet on the West Coast. And the nice part, honestly, for those Red Sox is they start the year on the West Coast, which honestly I think is the best way to get one of those West Coast trips out of the way. Who knows with scheduling how many more they're going to have, and I think that's kind of impacted the East Coast teams a lot last year. I'll be certainly looking to potentially profit off that this season. I think I'm most interested in the under 7.5 here. Don't really have a ton of belief in the Red Sox offense. I am a buyer of Brian Bayo. I went to his start against Detroit last year at Fenway. It was not delightful, and this certainly would not be the reason for me to back under here because I think he got hit pretty hard by a pretty weak offense at that point in the season. But I think Luis Castillo has a really good chance to throw a really nice gem on this opener. Questions about how long they go, but Seattle's been the bullpen whisperers. They just can't hit, which I think also plays into that under as well. Last matchup we'll go through, then we'll get through a little bit of the macro talk before we get into our best bets, which I know you are all waiting to hang out and see this. We'll go the Chicago Cubs and Justin Steele on the road at the World Series champions, only 40 minutes or so from Dallas, which is not really a Dallas team. The Arlington Rangers and Nathan Eovaldi, a minus 113 favorite. Total is 8.
I looked at this line and I don't get it. We'll get into this a little later. I don't get any of the Rangers lines this year. They're the defending champs. I think they're getting better. They're young enough to literally get better on offense with Carter and Langford made the team, and Garcia seems to be a stud, and Seager's there. And I mean, well, Seager's not there actually. Hernia surgery. I forgot about that.
Okay, that's a move. I thought that he was going to
He's
potentially
out for a
play.
couple of weeks, maybe, or like a week. He's getting close. He
Okay.
might even be debuting tomorrow.
Well, because there was arguments that he was like not going to. Maybe it was that he was not going to be out as long as suggested. I mean, clearly he's the most important player on that team, I think. So it looks like he went from 2 to 3 at bats and 3 to 6 innings. So he's playing slowly. And it does so probably not going to play in this opener, but in baseball, I mean, starting pitchers are usually where these lines come from. Feels very cheap for a World Series champion team after that incredible run in October into November, I think last fall. And the Chicago Cubs, Justin Steele, I mean, good pitchers, got some good strikeout numbers, but he's got to go against the toughest lineup in baseball, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I really like the Rangers again. Valdi, make sure you got your sound on for this game because he grunts like a tennis player every time. It's good theater.
Hell yeah.
He's a darling of the Red Sox fandom. I like the Rangers in this game. I like the Rangers all season. I don't know why it's almost a pick 'em. What'd you say? -1 12. I
113,
mean, I'll eat
113. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
113. I'll eat that juice, and I'm betting the Rangers tomorrow.
Sounds good. So we'll get to best bets. We'll have A Brooks Bets on Twitter. Make sure you follow that. He'll go first. But I'm also interested in the Rangers on that. I guess only interleague matchup on opening day. So we got a few minutes left. If you want to give us some ideas, I mean, you just mentioned the Rangers. What's your World Series prediction for this season?
I'm going to go Rangers again. They're not even favored to win their own division. The Astros are. I know there's recency bias, and this is how the public gets burned. But I just think that they have the young talent and the depth to sustain it. They're going to get Scherzer back. They may or may not get DeGrom back. If they do get DeGrom, I mean, imagine getting otherworldly pitcher in September or October.
Huge.
I like the Rangers to make the World Series in the AL, and I'm going to take the Braves in the NL. I think they're right up there with the Dodgers. They've got a supremely talented roster, just as good as the Dodgers. I don't think there's really a close set third in that league. So if you give me a little bit of extra money, I'll take the Braves. And if we're not even talking about betting, we're just talking about predictions. I'd take the Braves and the Rangers in the World Series again.
Yeah, I like the Braves too. I think I'll go with those Astros. I was kind of surprised in the Astros last season. Felt like they were in a good position to get through the Rangers and make it all the way to the World Series. That did not come to pass, but ultimately, I feel like there's a lot of talent in Houston. That's going to be an awesome series, and unfortunately, those two playing each other as many times as they will, I guess less than the 19-game schedules of the past few seasons. But that's going to probably impact their chances of potentially getting better seeding in the playoffs. So maybe that's a concern and opens the floor up for some other teams. I just don't know who those other teams will be. Like the Yankees, I don't trust. The Blue Jays, not at all, despite wearing a jersey as I'm talking. Don't trust their lineup whatsoever. I mean, maybe I go a little bit out on a limb and, screw it. I'll go Orioles, Braves. That's what I'll go. I'll go Orioles, Braves. I'm a believer. Adley Rutschman, please stay healthy. Please stay healthy. And I think it's time now, before we get into our best bets, if you're not subscribed to our platform, make sure you do it. Betting the Pitch on YouTube. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. YouTube, go to the real_G Warner. Actually, I'm going to try to be cutting these best bets into a reel for each episode we do. 1-minute version. You can find that on Instagram at the real_G Warner and on YouTube as well. Make sure you follow at A Brooks Bets on Twitter and at the real_G Warner. And let's get into our best bet for this first episode, opening day at A Brooks Bets.
Minnesota Twins on the road at Kansas City. I like Pablo Lopez. I don't believe in Cole Reagans yet. If he struggles to find the strike zone, I guess I should look up the weather. If it's cold and you can't feel his fingers, I don't know.
That's a concern.
It could be beautiful in Kansas City, and I'm way off. But I like Pablo Lopez. I like the Twins. I like what they're putting together. Buxton's healthy. It's another one of those guys where, hey, you get him for the first part of the season at least. Best bet, opening day, Minnesota Twins.
There we go. So this is the real_G Warner. This is Betting the Pitch MLB edition. You just heard at A Brooks Bets. He gave you the Twins -113 for his best bet on opening day. I'm going to go with an early matinee potential. I'll go with Yu Darvish and San Diego Padres, a -109 favorite at home. Not a believer in Logan Webb and his spring numbers. I am a believer in him long term, but I'm not a believer in that San Francisco Giants organization. I think the Padres got a couple games under their belt in Korea. I don't think that the travel affects them too much in this matchup, and they're at home and they played really well for a bunch of years. I almost feel like the Juan Soto loss might even be better for them and lowering expectations. So take the Padres -109 and at A Brooks Bets Twins -113. We'll see you all in the next episode coming up very soon.